Hi there, I'm Caroline, dog mom to Australian Shepherd mix Layla May. Welcome to Owners Tell All, an Instagram live series where I chat with other dog owners about the successes and struggles of owning a dog. As a first-time dog owner and mental health advocate, my goal is to make new dog owners feel less alone, give hope for those problems people thought they couldn't solve, and match words to how their dog is acting or how they are feeling. Thanks for being here, and make sure to follow us on Instagram at LAYLA_ILMAYYY. Hey everyone, before we get into this week's episode, I just wanted to say a huge thank you times a million to everyone that is downloading and listening to this podcast. I also decided to try out something a little different and made an email blog of some of our favorite toys and how we use them. If you would like to check that out and get occasional reminders and updates about the podcast, you can subscribe using the first link in the details section. That's all for now, and I hope that you enjoy this episode of Owners Tell All. Hey! Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Perfect. Let me just try to get my thing situated. And it's like looking at me from a weird angle.
I see light ring reflected in your glasses. Hi, cute.
Oh yeah, I can take those off actually.
Oh no, it's fine. I wish I had.
Yeah, I've been wearing them more. Or I need to. They have like the blue light lenses in them, so for like looking at computers and everything all the time, I have to wear them or else I get really bad headaches.
Oh shoot. Thank you.
But okay, so just a quick little thing before we get started. If you're watching this later on and you don't have time to
I'm gonna grab some.
watch, yeah, go ahead. And if you don't have time to watch the rest of this on Instagram, you can watch it or listen to it. Watch it on YouTube, but then also listen to it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So I put those up about the next day. So you have if you have the availability, you can download it there and listen, and I would so appreciate it. Okay, but we have Andrea here and Maya. Their name on here is Little Me's. So, if you're wondering who I'm talking about. But do you just want to kind of tell us like who you are, where you live, what breed Maya is, and kind of just like that rundown?
Yeah. So we're in Connecticut. Me and my husband are originally from Florida. Met in Florida, and then the joke is always we're not setting roots in Connecticut, but now we've been here for 4 years. Let's see. So about 2 weeks into COVID, full on lockdown, we're like, all right, it's time to get a dog. We had talked about she's here. We had talked about it for a while. And I think it was always, I would choose travel over dogs. And so then once travel was taken out, then it was like, okay, so let's get a dog. Applied to a bunch of them, I think for a solid 3 weeks. Kept applying, kept getting denied since we didn't have a yard. And then they said, okay, we have this one, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Maya is a Schnauzer mix.
Yeah,
right?
So she's super mutt. The dad is Anatolian Great Pyrenees, so 2 huge dogs, right?
Yeah.
And then the mom is tiny dogs, so mini Schnauzer, mini Poodle, Pit Bull, what did I make? Maltese, so like the most random mix.
I
So
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was like such a broad mixture of everything. I thought it was just like maybe only 2 or 3 breeds.
Yeah, and the only reason, so her brother did the DNA test, so I'm just going based off what I'm assuming it's the same.
Yeah.
But he shared the results with me, so.
Oh, that's so nice to be able to have that and have those connections. Did you know the owner of her brother before you got her?
No, it was how, so the foster mom was super cute. The foster mom left like a little card in the adoption packet, and I think she was the one who connected me to, like, she asked their owner if it was okay, and then she
Hmm.
put it together.
Oh, that is so nice.
Yeah, it was super sweet.
That if I ever like had dogs like were breeding for some reason, which I don't ever think that I will, but if I ever do, I'm definitely going to do that. I think that is super super sweet, especially if they're a mix. Um, and like you might not know like all the traits that like the mom or dad had. Um, I think that's an awesome way to go.
Yeah.
Okay. And oh, my other question is, was Maya your first dog, or did you have dogs growing up?
So first dog together, first like our dog, but yeah, both of our families had dogs. My family had a Cocker Spaniel, and then my husband's parents always had Goldens. I think
Okay.
the videos
So
for
like both you and your husband were like experienced with dogs. It wasn't just like a brand new thing.
right. Well, so like
Yeah.
family, but I think this is one of my later questions. But so like family dog versus our dog, and I guess
Mhm.
the expectations and what we she's going wild behind me. What we went into it kind of wanting from a dog completely different. Like now looking back.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, so typically I do like training type questions first, but I think I'm gonna do it a little differently and do the like mental health questions first. Um, I feel like you chose a lot more of the mental health questions than some of the other people, which I think is awesome.
Bye.
Especially since like you're in social work and kind of have like psychology and that kind of knowledge. Um, okay, let's see. Let's start off with, has Maya affected your mental health, like positive, negative, or both?
Definitely both. So I
Yeah.
think that the standard stress relief and just being able to have a dog to come home to, snuggle, go out on adventures with. But so kind of going back to what I said, a whole new world as far as now, okay, this is my dog. I feel the responsibility. Like I wanted to have, a well-behaved dog. I think you mentioned this before, just like an overall well-rounded dog, well-behaved, listens.
Hmm.
So then, especially trying to raise a dog during COVID with not as many social interactions, now that's a whole new set of stressors that I didn't remember having with the family dog.
Yeah, and not that like Maya or Layla, like not that they don't listen, but whenever they have all this stimulating environment around them, they're definitely more concerned about it, I would say, versus like whatever we're doing.
Right.
We've talked a lot about that before. But yeah, I've struggled with how Layla's kind of given me like some negative vibes. More so around like this time last year. Now just be like I'm annoyed and then you're adding to my annoyance. But um like there was, a lot of days around like August of last year, so almost a month, that like Layla was just like really her reactions and like we weren't getting along and it was just like a lot for my mental health. Um and I think that's something that people don't talk about as much, which is why I'm want to bring it up and let people know that it's okay. You just have to work through it. And I think you're really good about doing that too on your page.
I try to share both, and I've seen before in like the people that we follow sharing the good and the bad. But yeah, I think a typical Instagram page is, look at how cute, and then we're
Mhm.
at a brewery and my dog's being perfect, and it's definitely not like that, especially thinking about how little time we've had together, right? So like a year is not really a long time if we
Yeah. But she is a little brewery pup now. She is doing great. Every time I see her out on your stories, I'm like, I'm so proud of them.
Yeah, and I think the last post that I put, I kind of touched on it that we had, it was like 99% positive, and then if we were literally already standing up, and someone came from um, kind of like this like side way that no one had come from before, and so it just surprised her, and she barked. Um,
You know, a reaction is sometimes a reaction, like a true reaction, and it's appropriate, you know? So one of like Layla had a moment like that probably a couple months ago, but I was really startled by the lady coming out too. You know
right,
what
so
I mean?
that's
So
fair.
I think sometimes like you just have to make sure what they're doing is appropriate. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't too mad at her.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. How has mental health affected your training and relationship?
So I think kind of keeping myself in check, and on the days that maybe my patience is not as high, or I had like a tough day, then I won't do as much engaging. Like I'll play with her, or, I'll
Hmm.
cuddle with her, but it won't be as much one-on-one or a full-on training versus if I was having a really good day or we were out, and then yeah, like naturally I would just have more energy and be more fun. And I know that she feeds off of that. You've talked about that before.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Like we had a couple of those days over the weekend where I just kept my expectations super low. I didn't ask much of her. Um, and like you said, like we'll play a lot, just because that's like pretty innate. It's natural for her. But like whereas going out for walks, and being around a lot of stimuli, that's not supernatural. That's like asking a lot of her. Um, so yeah, like on the days that I'm kind of like low patience or don't have as much energy, I definitely try to keep our expectations super low.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's kind of what you were saying too. So, um, okay. Sorry, I have all the questions up on my iPad. But I got an iPad and I love it. And it's helped me stay like really organized. Thank
You are
goodness.
organized. I was gonna ask you when, so you mentioned last year, August. Were you tracking the behaviors, or just that month stood out for you as far as being difficult?
No, I just like there was some other things going on during that time that like I remember um having like a really hard time with her, and then also just like these other things that were going on at the time, and not that they were like correlated in any way, but that's just kind of like what stands out to me and how I remember um like our house that we rent, actually the owner of the house that was leasing it to us decided to sell it um,
Oh,
while we were living in it. And it caused, I think it partially caused some of her reactions, because we had people coming into our house all the time, just strangers, because they were trying to sell it to someone that would eventually like lease it back out to us. So kind of just like a change in management type thing, but like people were still coming into our house all the time to view it, and what you do for whenever you're gonna buy a house, home inspections, um, like bug inspections, like all these different things that you do before you buy a house, I guess. And I would put her in her crate, and then they would come up and like baby talk her through the crate
oh
and
shit.
like different things like that. And at the time, I didn't know like how to advocate for her, or just like do anything to like protect her, I guess. Um, and I just kind of let all these like random people do whatever. Um, and it was uncomfortable for me. Our current landlord at the time was making everything just very, very difficult. So like we were already stressed because of that. And then like all these reactions that Layla was having. um, that whole timeline just like collided and all these things were like happening at once. So that's how I remember because it
You
was not a
probably
great month.
felt stress from me too, and then she was in that weird like teenage, like Maya definitely had a
Yeah.
rebellion.
Yeah, like last August, September, and October were probably like the worst months. And it was like whenever she was 10, 11, and 12 months.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, like you were saying, like the almost one kind of like teenage years
Oh
were
my god.
just like,
I was like,
whew,
what are you doing?
just like every button pushed. Um, the one time that like Layla has ever chewed on furniture was during that time.
Uh-oh.
She never chewed on furniture as a puppy. Um, like never tore up anything, but during that time she like chewed up a corner of our couch. And I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, like you've never done this ever."
Yeah.
And you decide to do it now. Um, yeah. All these things like stick out in my head of what was going on during that time, during like the teenage years, the rebellion, like us not knowing what to do, or like even that kind of fixing that stuff was like a thing, or correcting it, trying to get better. At that time we were only walking on our street, so because anywhere off of our street she would have a reaction.
Oh.
So we were only walking on our street for a pretty good amount of time, like 3 or 4 months probably after we moved into this house. Before I started like trying to venture out. We would try sometimes to go on like other streets, but it was like really, really early in the morning when no one else was out.
Which is a good idea. So like you did that before even knowing about like the triggers and stuff. That's a good
Hmm.
idea.
Yeah, but it was like not possible all the time, just because like work and like maybe one day it was raining and different things like that. But yeah, it was like we were just trying to avoid everything. So I don't know. It wasn't like a great life to live. And I'm glad we got the resources that we needed to get out of that, or get over that hump.
Indefinitely.
So, okay. What does mental health mean to you? This doesn't really like have to do anything with like dogs. It could just be in general.
So I think the best sentence to summarize all of mental health would just be literally being able to handle what life throws at you. So daily stressors, long-term stressors, things like COVID that no one expected. How are you able to not even just bounce back, but how are you able to in the moment deal with it and hopefully keep moving?
Hmm. Um, so are you a therapist?
Yeah. So my let's see, my undergrad was in psychology, just general psychology, and then I had 2 years master's in social work. And so with that, I could do a bunch of things, but that's what I primarily do now. So social work therapist is,
Hmm.
I guess, interchangeable. Uh,
Yeah, my therapist is a licensed social worker.
oh, there you go. That's
Yeah. So
it.
I kind of knew that they could like have wear many hats, um,
Right.
which is awesome, I think. Have you always just kind of like been fascinated with mental health and always been like kind of an advocate for it?
I think so. Yeah, my mom is actually also well, so she had to one up me. So we went. Um, she had her license, and then when I decided that I was going back to school to get my master's, she went to school to get her PhD, and we were at the same school. So yeah. So I think um, it wasn't anything that was outright like you need to do this or
Hmm.
this is how you treat people. I think it was more just a lead by example, and it was always something, positivity and support in the house. And I don't know. I think I took a psychology class in undergrad, and I was like, yeah, this is good, and
Yeah.
then just
That's awesome. I've always liked psychology too, except I knew that with psychology classes you had to write a lot, and I am like not a writer by any means. I do not like English or grammar. Or like really I don't like reading either. So I was like I'm fascinated by it, but like I can respect the people that do it, but it's not for me. Um
Wasn't too terrible. I mean, I say that now because I'm already done with it, but it wasn't too terrible.
did you get your master's from the same place that in Florida?
Yeah, in
Okay.
Florida.
So both your undergrad and masters were
Hmm.
what was it, Miami?
My undergrad was University of Miami, and then represent,
Yeah.
and then my master's is FIU, and then I
Oh,
just
okay.
got my license in Florida, and then I just kind of like transferred it over to Connecticut when we moved.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So what kind of ways do you like to maintain your mental health?
I did, let's see, so last week, I forgot what happened, but I definitely had, I think it was just like a long week and a lot of people, I had seen a lot of people. So definitely my go-to is to go to the beach, which luckily it's like the one that we went to was like an hour and a half, so not too terrible,
Okay.
even though the beaches here don't compare to Miami. But um,
Is the beach still dog friendly, or is it not in that like time frame anymore?
so there's one that I know of, there's one in Connecticut that's dog friendly, but it's only dog friendly in the cold months.
Mhm.
So October, which like the first day of October, I was like, all right, we're going.
Yeah.
Someone even made the comment on the beach. She was like, "There's a lot of dogs here today." And she's like, "What was it like Dog Day?" I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much."
Yeah.
And like going
Like
all
opening day.
right, like from October to March. And then the one that we went to is they allow dogs before, I think it's like before 8 and then after 6.
Okay, so it's like all seasons, but just certain times, like the non-busier times. Gotcha. Yeah, because I know like whenever we were up in that direction, we were thinking about going to some of the beaches, and I remember having to check like
Connecticut,
when beaches were dog friendly.
Connecticut, yeah, because we went to Rhode Island. That's where it was. So Connecticut, not
Gotcha.
dog friendly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, is it what else besides like the beach do you like to do to kind of keep your mind clear and your mental health prioritized?
So normally I have my I call it trash TV where it's literally just like the most mindless TV. I'll
Hmm.
have it and my I think my friend might be on here. Like she used to make fun of me. Like why do you watch that stuff? And I'm like it clears my mind and like it takes my mind off of stuff and just almost like a like I can just vegetate and just be there and like
Yeah,
relax
that makes total sense.
now. And she gets it. She's like, "Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about."
Yeah.
So
What
that's
are
like,
some of those shows for you?
oh geez.
Am I
90
gonna expose
Day
you?
not oh, she just answered. 90 Day Fiance is definitely one. In the
What is
past,
that on like a TLC?
yes. Oh,
Okay.
so many spin-offs. So if you start watching it, just be prepared because you're gonna get it is like the best trash TV.
Hmm.
What else? Jersey Shore in the past.
Oh my gosh.
Like literally like it's the worst. What's the other one? Below Deck is another one.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
I think that one is on Bravo, and then Top Chef. Well, Top Chef is not. I don't consider Top Chef a trash TV, but it's like one of my shows that I like watching. So like anything like cooking, um, things like that, I enjoy.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Last night I don't know why, but we were like, let's put on the new season of Rick and Morty, which is like just some
Yeah,
stupid show. And like we were so like we loved it. We were like, this is awesome. We're like, it's refreshing, even though it's like the stupidest show ever. It's just like trash, like what you're saying.
right. And then like my go-to, which is not trash TV, just like a feel-good show, is definitely Friends. So like I'll just have it in the background. I know all the lines, but it's just a fun thing to watch.
Yeah. Rick and Morty is awesome. I will say that. Um,
My, my brother says that my mom is, I
Okay.
guess, to the
I
phone.
was like, who's that? I was hoping it was someone that you knew.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's
My
so
mom.
funny. Yeah, I thought we were watching Rick and Morty and it was just like, it was making us laugh, but we were like, this is so stupid.
But it's good, right? It's good to laugh, and then like, even for a moment, it can take you out of the, hopefully take you out of the funk, or at least just give you a break from the funk.
Yeah, no, that's all that you need sometimes is just like an hour of like nonsense to disengage and distract yourself, and then you feel better.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes.
It's more like, let's see. So I know I'll call myself out. Like I need to practice what I preach more. And so I know, like I talk about mindfulness all the time to my patients, and I'll do it in session with them, but I'm not as good as doing it on my own. So I know that that's something, I know it works because I've done it with them, and,
Mhm.
um, all the research behind it. So that I should do more, I will say.
What are like some, do you have any specific techniques that you like always try to do? I know one time I think you told me actually about the either the senses or like the rainbow thing. So like you pick out 5 things that you can feel, 4 things that you can see, 3 things that you can
I,
hear. I don't remember the order, but
yeah,
I think you told me about that one time and I use it often.
I love it. Definitely one of my favorite ones.
That and I like it's a rainbow one where you pick out like something that's red, something that's
Yeah.
orange, something that's yellow, and then you just like go down the rainbow. I like that one too. I tend to go towards that one because I never can remember the order of the senses.
Well, the senses, yeah, so that's definitely one of my favorite ones, especially if I'm with the kids, because it's easy and it's kind of like an I spy. So they think,
Mhm.
but so like for me, if I go outside and I'm gonna do it, my favorite one is definitely sound. So I'll make it a game with myself, and I'll try to, especially now that there's a lot of birds,
Mhm.
just try to look at all the different sounds. So like you can go in order, or you can just pick one and then see how many, like, what is the loudest one that you hear? What's the quietest one that you hear?
Oh, okay. I've never thought about it that way, but that's really good.
Yeah, whichever is your favorite.
Yeah, I like that. Um, okay, so going back into more some dog questions. Has Maya changed your views about the world in any way?
Yes. I think I said also good and not good for that one.
Yeah.
I guess we can go on the not good first. I think uh, definitely more aware of people.
Hmm.
I don't think if I was going just for a walk, like I definitely would just be carefree, easygoing. And then now with having Maya who is, I guess, reactive in the sense of she's always scanning, so then I'm always scanning.
Hmm.
And I'm just hyper aware of everyone. So I'm like, okay, that person's over there. Will they come talk to us? This person has a dog. Their dog looks okay. This other person has a dog. Their dog looks really excited. So just like it's like a constant scanning. And then if I'm walking with my husband, it's like we're both looking in like either direction. So definitely more aware, and trying to, I don't know, prevent something bad from happening.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think it was Haley who I had on here 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. I think it was either in one of her posts or in another podcast that she had done. She talked about how the times that like a dog was coming up to them, the times that her dog acted the best or like was the most like nonchalant or calm about it was whenever she was focused solely like on her dog versus like trying to take care of a dog that like she saw whenever they were like scanning. You know what I mean? So just paying attention to I think that's what it was. Just like paying attention to her own dog instead of like acknowledging the other dog, but not like going out of the way or making it a big deal to try to take care of like try to take care of her because of the other dog, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think so. That's definitely something that I still struggle with, and I'm still always like, that's the question that I always ask myself. So, do I wait, but then risk her reacting and then have to like go back, or do I do something? And when I say do something, it could even be like just move to the. That's what I do. Move to the side and create space.
Hmm.
Make it a big deal. But so yeah, I always ask that in my mind. I'm like, okay, so what do I do? Do I noticed it? She hasn't noticed it. What do I do?
Yeah, it's like that fine balancing line of like doing too little versus doing too much. And I think that's like something that you learn how to handle over time, just by going through some different scenarios, like in real life, and figuring it out. It's not like a one case.
No.
It's not like a one case fits all type thing where every dog is you're always going to be able to go to the side and it be fine. It's always gonna vary between the time of day and the dog and your dog's mood and that dog's mood, and it's gonna depend on all sorts of factors. But I think that's one of the reasons that people should be um, really paying attention to their own dog and doing what's best for the dog in front of them.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, do you struggle with patience or consistency when training, or even like reading some of her cues, whether that be like whenever you're teaching her a new trick or command, or just like out on a walk?
Yes. I think all, no, not, I'm pretty good at reading her body language now. But definitely the patience, which I think I mentioned, like I'll just take a step back and I'll literally, there's been times where I hand the leash to my husband and I'm like, all right, so just give me a minute. I
Yeah.
can't leash right now. Um, and then the consistency I definitely struggled with when we got her, I was on a reduced schedule, so I was home, I think 3 days, or no, two days of the week I was home. So I had more time just to be home and do training in general.
Hmm.
Since December, I've been back full time, so I'm like unfortunately in the office 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So I'll get home, and then like we always, our routine is usually a quick walk, or if it's raining or there's something else going on, we'll do a play session inside. So she should definitely get something at least every day, but I wish it could be, if I work from home, I would take a
Hmm.
break, I would do like a 5 minute session in the middle of the day or something like that. So sometimes I'm not too consistent just because I feel like I don't have the time to um, break it up into multiple sessions like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think later on, like we'll talk about kind of what your goals and priorities on are. Um, but I think like having those goals and priorities really makes a difference in what you determine, like what you're going to do each day, in your routine, or like, if you have a list of like 10 tricks that are just like really cute but not like functional, you're probably not going to um, put those at the top of your list, since you don't have that like free time during the middle of the day anymore. Um, which I do have that time in the middle of the day, and I still don't work on like cute little tricks. Everything that we do is like still very much functional at the moment. Um, yeah, so that's not surprises me, I guess, but um, I'm was really bad at reading Layla's cues, and that's something that I had to learn. So kudos to you for like being able to do that really well. And would you consider that like one of your strengths?
I guess so. I guess I hadn't thought about it until now, maybe being like trying to be in tune with myself and with her. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a strength and a weakness because then sometimes I feel like I might be hyper aware. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, but yeah, and she's looking back from where we started. I think part of it was just also I don't know, was more happy-go-lucky, and then I knew what to look for, and then I think that she's pretty indicative. Also because a lot of it is fear. So it's for me. I know it's pretty easy to see when she's scared in a
Hmm.
situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would say that I've always been very patient, so I would say that's like a big strength of mine. Um, However, it does come back and bite me in the butt sometimes because I will sometimes let her get away with too much because I am so patient before being like telling her to stop or like correcting her, fixing her or whatever. Um but it's yeah, definitely a strength and a weakness, but I feel like I'm definitely a lot more patient than some of the other people I know whenever it comes to training stuff.
And you're super consistent because you're like every single day. I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's because I don't have friends. Just kidding. um, I'm not sure if my best friend's watching or not, but no. I think for a lot of it was during COVID, um, and like just not being able to go out and do anything. And then I'm also just like I see like projects through all the way, and like not that Layla's like a project, but like kinda, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, that I like got very determined at the beginning to like work through all these issues, and then it's just like keep adding in segments to like things that we're gonna keep working on, I guess. Like keep adding additions to her little life.
Yeah.
um
Follow your. Oh my God, she had, and like I've gotten ideas from her page before too. I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. So
yeah,
definitely.
I mean, Instagram is full of different things, whether that be like seeing other people and what they're doing, or um like finding trainers through other people on here, I think is it's been super helpful. Um and it gives you a really wide variety to look at, and then you have to determine like which one's best for you, which is a whole different conversation. Um but yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So would you say that you understood dog behavior before you got Maya then?
I don't know. I think it was my perspective that again, like it shifted when we started noticing the reactivity and and then the goals for her changed from more happy-go-lucky to okay, I need a well-behaved dog or I want a well-behaved dog. But now looking back, I compare a lot of it to children and like how you would right how you would structure and raise a child. So the same thing, the consistency, the positive, the repetition. So that I see a lot of in like what I talk to my parents about too. Like if they want to change a behavior in the child, it's almost exactly what you would do with a dog.
Mm-hmm. That is so interesting, isn't it? Um, I don't have kids, but and neither do you, but like it is pretty crazy to think about how that whole psychology and behavior and like just animals growing up, I guess, work. Um, and how everything can be so similar. Um, it's pretty interesting too because like sometimes in artificial intelligence, it's like very similar that you just feed it like all these repetitions and patterns until they get the right thing.
Right.
Which I mean, kind of similar. Like you're wanting to teach a machine how to think like a human, basically. So, um, which that's like kind of more my field, but yeah, it's very interesting. So, so if you were going to educate someone about being a respectful dog owner, what would you say?
I think the biggest thing is the space. So space and reading cues of the other person. I think this has been mentioned almost every time in life. We had actually a really good I was so surprised that it was the best example when we went to the beach. There were two other dogs that we saw, two separate occasions, and they were off leash. And then both times when they were approaching us, both of the owners put their dogs on leash to pass us and then let their dogs go again. So I thought that, and that was the first time that that's ever happened. So I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's such a great example of being super respectful that even, and their dogs looked well behaved. So I wouldn't have doubted that they probably wouldn't have run up to us, but just the courtesy of like, okay, this is what I'm doing to respect your space. That was so sweet. I was so happy to see that.
Yeah, and just even so you're not like walking on eggshells like the whole entire time, like while you're passing or even once you get past them because you never know if they could like run around and come from behind.
Hmm.
That's like a huge lifesaver for your part. Um, Makes you be able to have a more enjoyable experience on the beach. The beach
Exactly.
is so relaxing anyways. You don't want it to become like a place that you go to and almost like hate doing it. Um,
Right. That might be the number one complaint that I see going around, like the dogs off leash and not under control. Right.
yeah.
What would you think, like if you had, I guess, like a gripe that you saw about not respectful, non-respectful dog owners?
What's something that I would say?
What would either something that you would say that you've seen the most or you personally?
Um, so luckily we have really only been encountered by two or three off-leash dogs. One of them was just recently. It didn't have a collar on or anything, and it just snuck out of the house. And then one time the dog was came off of its lawn. The owner was right there, trying to like recall our dog. He wasn't, and he got like a little aggressive. Nothing happened, but it was like a intense situation. Um, so definitely that. I think something around here would be that like a lot of people, regardless of where you are, if you're at a restaurant or on a street or just anything, um, they will like walk right up to you with their dog on leash and say like my dog wants to meet yours or say hi or something like that. Um, and I'm just like, I don't even know your dog. Like I don't know you. That happened to us one time at a restaurant. The dog was on a retractable leash and the owner was just like letting it go wherever. Um, like literally could have tripped someone, honestly.
I've seen that before. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, and it was a really weird situation because she was just like, my dog, like literally said, my dog wants to say hi, and I was like,
Like, oh, did she tell you that?
yeah, like no, no thanks. Um, and I'm especially like weary of it now because there is a really bad case of kennel cough going around in Kentucky,
Oh, shoot.
and even dogs that are vaccinated are getting bad cases of it.
Oh, wow.
It's a weird strain or something. Um, and like you just never know like where the dog could have been earlier, like if it went to a dog park or daycare and like brought something like that over, like you don't know how each dog's gonna react. So that would probably be like my biggest complaint is like your dog doesn't need to say hi to everyone else's dog, um, especially on leash because that can just create a lot of tension.
Right. And I think that's something, and like some people they don't, it's kind of like a harmless, like, oh, this is what dogs do, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think looking back, that was kind of my mentality too when she was a puppy, and which created some of the reactivity on the excitement side when she saw
Mm-hmm.
dogs. So some people just genuinely, like, if you say something, they're like, oh, okay. But then there are the people that are adamant, like, no, my dog wants to meet your dog. And I'm like, no, they don't have to meet.
Yeah. At the restaurant, the one that I was talking about, the woman like got offended that I said no. And it was just kind of like, wait, why are you getting so mad? Yeah, it was a weird situation. Um, So if you're having an off day, what is something that you try to do to make it better? Like you kind of already said the beach. Um, and you said like you keep your expectations really low as well. But do you still like to try to throw in like a play session or just like revisiting any like really easy commands or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely the play, which I was so happy to, I don't know if I saw it through your page. I was so happy to see the challenge, and I'm pretty competitive, so I was like, okay, sweet, let's do
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah, I love that you did that 30 days of play as well.
yeah, and I definitely for that month, and it, there were definitely some days that I didn't want to, like some days that I had an off day, but I noticed even on those days, like maybe I wasn't as energetic, but I still found myself laughing and we had a good
Mhm.
time. So yeah, and literally every single day.
I know, like that's really when we started getting into play as well, which feels like a lifetime ago. Um, because that was back in March. It feels like so long ago, but
Yeah,
I told Grace, the trainer that kind of like started it, I was like, that like changed my life.
it
Like
did. Yeah,
that was like a big turnaround for us. To have that like social interaction with her and like just no expectations besides like having fun kind of thing. That was like a game changer for us because I just
literally.
had never like I guess never paid attention to it. I was just like, yeah, it's just when you have time, play with your dog, whatever. But no, like if you make it a priority, you see a huge difference, I think.
The idea of the mental stimulation too versus just the physical, which was something
Hmm.
that I, again, had family dogs, but just like they would be in the house, never leave the house, just hang around people. So something that I had never thought about before, the mental stimulation, and then so definitely that will tire her out, and I've noticed it. Like her favorite is the sniffy or like the find it games using.
Yeah.
So yeah, then she's exhausted, and I'm like, oh sweet. Like if I'm having an off day, we don't have to go out and deal with all the triggers. It can
Hmm.
be inside where it's more controlled. And
Yes. Totally. Exactly. Um, does Maya like to do like any kind of tugging or anything like that? Does she like the fighting aspect of play or no?
yeah, she does a little bit. She does like she likes to do fetch. And like in the beginning, I think that was something that I struggled with because she was more used to playing with toys by herself. So like when we started the play, the 30 days of play, I would throw something and then she'd be like, okay, thanks. And she would like go to her bed. And I'm like, okay, well, we have to play together.
Yeah.
So that's a while to figure out. But yeah, now if I throw a toy, she'll bring it back and she'll want to engage.
Hmm.
She has to be in the mood. But yeah, she'll do the tug. Not as much as Layla. She'll give up and walk away. Um, what else? And she likes to roughhouse. She roughhouses more with my husband. Um, and and then he's always like, "Oh, I don't know why she only jumps on me." And I'm like, "Because you let her."
Oh, yeah, yeah. Um, that's funny. That sounds like Bobby. But yeah, because even like going back to the mental stimulation part of it, sometimes I'll do like weird challenges that like Layla will have to like jump over my arm or my leg or something to get the tug. And like her just having that little bit of like, how do I get over this obstacle? Um, really tires her out too because of like the mental part of it, of like figuring out how to get to the toy. So it's kind of similar. I don't know if you can hear, but I think Bobby's watching a baseball game downstairs.
Okay, I was like, "Is that a person or is that the dog?"
I think he's watching a baseball game. He keeps yelling.
What what team do you guys root for?
The Reds,
Okay,
Cincinnati. Yeah, who do you guys like?
for baseball, the San Francisco Giants.
Oh, okay, so not in New England.
Super random. No, my husband has family out there, so they've always just rooted for the Giants, and then football is Miami, even though the
Yeah,
Dolphins.
yeah. For football, where well, NFL, I guess it's the Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
And then college would be for West Virginia where we went to college.
Is that where you met in college or no?
No, we met in high school.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
congrats. I know I've already said congrats, but I'll keep saying it.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. No, yeah, we met in high school. So been together for a long time. Um, has there ever been a time you thought Maya regressed?
Right now.
If somebody asked me that question, I would say the same thing. Like, yes, right here.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if my theory is that now just with things opening up and we've I feel like we've done a good job of like going out safely. Because like you said, like you'd see her at breweries and like we would just
Mhm.
outside and we still stay outside. And I think now people are more comfortable. And so I don't know. So she's developed this weird habit of barking at people and she never used to do it. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's the first I noticed it was I was in the street taking pictures and I had done the paint your pet. So I was holding
Mhm.
was next to it and someone random walked by and complimented me and said, oh, you did such a good job, went to give me a high five and Maya reacted. And so in my mind looking back, I'm like, wow, she's never seen being a COVID puppy. I'm like, she hasn't really seen people that she doesn't know come into my
Mhm.
face except for now. And so there was that time, and then there was something else. It's happening at night too, so I'm trying to be lenient because I'm like, okay, so it's dark.
Do you
Um,
think it might be because of like fireworks and she like associates fireworks with the nighttime?
I don't think so because
Because I kind of think that might be part of Layla's like
oh,
regression too, is that she has like some residual effects of um like the fireworks.
for Maya, I don't think so because when we got her, they were doing fireworks almost every night, and she was not phased. And then this past Fourth of July. Um, I don't think like sometimes she would wake up and she would look confused, but she never looked distressed. So
Okay, well that's good at least.
I don't know, but it'll happen more at night where like or like if we stop and talk to someone again, like she's not really used to that, so no threat, but then she starts barking.
Hmm.
So trying to that's one of the things that I'm changing now. I'm trying to make it a point to I'm like the weirdo who's like, oh hey, how are you doing now? Like whereas before I would just kind of like, go
Uh-huh.
through anyone.
Oh, okay, so you're like trying to make a point to show her that it is okay instead of avoiding it.
Way to yeah, like from obviously like with
Hmm.
the distance is her friend. So from a distance, just her getting used to some kind of quick verbal exchange. Because yeah, she's doing it all the time.
Hmm.
I don't know what started it. But now it's
Huh. That's interesting.
yeah.
I definitely do think it's something about it like opening up,
I
like
think
the world opening back up, I would say.
and you said Layla was you think the fireworks have set her off.
I think the fireworks have something to do with it. And then I think part of our regression too is after we got back from our vacation, we were super lax about routine and structure. So for about a month, we just like had no routine or structure. Really, it was just kind of like a free for all. Because she had done so well that I was like, oh, we like don't need it. Like we can have these like days where we're not like doing everything by the book and she'll be okay. And then it just like went on for too long that I think um it like really just effectively negative or negatively affected her. Um and because like dogs and just like you said, children, like they thrive off of structure and just kind of like the pattern of knowing like what to expect. And I just neglected giving that to her for about probably a little over a month. And I really think that that kind of like put us where we are today too. So I think it was, let's see, today's Monday. So I guess on last Saturday, I kind of came to that conclusion and then really started implementing more like structure and routine again. And I've already been able to tell like a huge difference.
Okay. Yeah. 'Cause I mean,
Yeah.
all dogs benefit, but you think Layla especially needs
Mm-hmm.
her.
Yeah, like maybe not to like hour by hour, minute by minute, but like I just think keeping some kind of like daily routine that she knows what to expect really helps her out. Um, and just like keeping things really low threshold at the moment, basically. So, like we've went back to a routine of walking in the morning and then like some downtime, and then we'll do like whether that be like place or like tether decompression, or and then we'll do like a training session with our breakfast and then some play, and then by that time it's typically like noon, and then I'll put her in her crate for a little bit. And then in the evening things kind of vary like depending on what Bobby and I are doing. But I really think like just kind of her knowing what to expect helps her out a lot. And one of the biggest things that I noticed was that she like wasn't settling, or like being calm really like inside the house. And she used to be able to like, I could say enough, and she would like almost be asleep in like under 2 minutes. And um, it was like last week, I would be like, okay, enough, or place, or just anything like that. And she was super restless, just like super alert, looking around. Whenever we would go out on walks, she was like scanning and super, super hyper aware, like um, more than like how she had been for a really long amount of time, I feel like. So I don't know. I just like noticed all these things and I was like, this isn't good. Like her mental state is not good. Which in turn like makes my mental state not good because I'm just like worried about her. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but we got back. We started doing like a little bit more structure and I can already tell a difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what are some of your end goals? Have they changed? And then kind of along those same lines of like what are your priorities when training with Maya?
Yes. Let me see. Hold on. What order? So they definitely
You don't
changed.
have to go in order, but like all relate, I guess.
Right. They definitely changed from when we first got her. I don't know if I had any specific goals when we first got her, and now definitely the main goal is to build up her confidence, not to have her be so anxious because yeah, like you see your dog anxious, and then I feel frustrated because I think I've heard you say this before, like I can't think
Mm-hmm.
no reason to be anxious because nothing really bad has happened, and then you just hurt, like you feel for them
Mm-hmm.
because like you want them to be enjoying life and being a dog, so carefree dog. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely building up her confidence, reducing the anxiety, reducing the scanning for her. Um, and I think initially I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna take her everywhere. We still do take her to a lot of places, but there's definitely places that I'm like, okay, so we'll have dog-free vacations or dog-free nights. We do have dog-free nights, and then in
Mm-hmm.
the future we'll have dog-free vacations. So having, I guess, that balance of having her with us, but also having our stuff separate from her.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think like along those same lines as you build up their confidence and they're not as like hyper aware of everything else, their engagement with you will be like so much more. Um, and I think that's like really rewarding to like have her like with Layla, like she won't be so worried as to what's going on around her and she can play with me in a new place. I think that's like a really cool and special moment that um, I didn't think of as like one of the outcomes to like our end goals of building up her confidence and like reducing the anxiety. But I think that's like one of the really cool outcomes that I've seen whenever Layla was in like a really high moment, like whenever she was doing really, really well. So
Yeah,
okay.
the anxiety would come with the more engagement and then
Yeah.
feeling, okay, great, like our relationship is good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Okay, so for the last little bit, I want to talk about barn hunt. So I kind of like know the gist of barn hunt, but if you like want to explain it a little bit more, like what it actually is, and then like maybe why like what Maya does and like why you think she loves it and how you think it's a good fit for her and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's a barn, I guess, like environment. So there's hay bales, and the training place that we go to, it's not an actual barn, but it's like a little barn setup. And so hay bales, hay, and then in a like a metal tube that has holes for breathing, they put the live rat. The rats are super safe, like super spoiled. The last time that I went, the trainer was like, "Oh yeah, I shared my sandwich with the rats, and so now they're well, yeah, like so the rats are completely unfazed. Just in case anyone was concerned about the
I
rats.
I have wondered about that before. Like, where do these rats come from?
The rats are super. I'm not sure if they like right if the training facility has them. I think my understanding is like people can also sign like if you have a pet rat and you know that your rat is chill, you can sign them up for it, I think.
Oh,
I don't,
okay.
but the rats are yeah, the rats are fine. And so for Maya, so she's got her, her terrier side. So I think initially I was just like, okay, so this is gonna be fun for her. And then I remember the first day she was terrified. And so like being in a new environment definitely stressed her out. I think the first day, it wasn't even, I think she had the tubes out and was just letting Maya smell the tubes. And to the point that Maya was so scared that like she would like try to go and smell the tube and like her back legs were, like she was like stretching
Yeah.
forward, super tentative, like small movements. Um, Even just, and then we were literally just working on getting her comfortable with the tube and getting her used to smelling the tube or smelling the rat in the tube. To now, fast forward, I think she caught on pretty quickly. So the next to that would be, she would put the tube somewhere, not even hidden, but just put the tube somewhere, reward her every time she went to the tube with like a treat on it. And then now, so we took some time off because we were traveling. So we
Mhm.
just on this past weekend. And poor thing, she was out of practice. But what she'll do is now for her, she'll hide the one rat. So she'll put it in either, I guess, like on the hay bale or on the floor, covered in some hay. So now we're trying to get her back to strengthening her signal. So she'll paw at the tube to show me.
Now,
Part of
was that something that like you taught her to do, or is that like natural?
so she would when we were trying to shape, it was like a shaping behavior. So what the trainer
Okay.
would put, because Maya knows how to shake or give her paw.
Hmm.
So she put her hand over the tube and then would just kind of move it at the last second. And
Sorry, I think somebody was trying to call me.
oh,
I had to like exit out.
okay. It just paused for a second, but you're back.
Okay, but you said that like it was kind of a shaping behavior and that the trainer would just like kind of have her like paw at it or shake almost and then
Got it. Yeah, she got it in that same. She was like, okay, this is what you want me to do. And then she
oh,
figured,
that's awesome.
Right. And then so now it's kind of on me because um, I'll I'll like get excited and then I want to go to reward her and the trainer's reminding me like you have to let her like get excited about it and have a strong signal instead of just like yes, that's a rat.
Okay.
Um, so it's strengthening the signal now and then getting her more consistently through the tunnel.
Okay.
There's
So
like a tunnel.
within the course, there's like different obstacles. Like she might have to jump on some of the hay bales or go through the tunnel.
Right.
So what if you were to compete? Um, because you said like there is like some potential for my competing. What is like is the goal to find like one rat or like whenever you compete, are there two rats or like does that just kind of vary from level to level?
Yeah, there's different levels. So I think she could start with um I'm not sure if the first one is timed, but she could start with like let's say just finding a rat, right, within
Mm-hmm.
a certain amount of time. And then I think it goes to they have to find it within a minute something, which
Okay.
she's been telling me like, if you wanted to keep going with it, she's finding them in the time. And then I think that even the next level would be finding two rats in the same time.
Okay. That's awesome. Did you already know about Barn Hunt or did you kind of learn that from Mabel and Lindsay?
Yeah, it was through Mabel and Lindsay. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so she's got her little, Aussie, who is not a natural terrier barn hunt type dog. And so that's why I was like, well, if Mabel gets excited about it, then for sure Maya. And yeah, Maya loves it. Like she'll like this last time because it had been so long, she ran in there and she had like she got her zoomies out of the way and she was
Yeah.
like excited. So for sure she likes it.
That is awesome. Um, the agility people that I'm going to, she also does barn hunt. And so I've seen kind of like the course a little bit. Like I've seen like the hay bales, but I haven't seen any of the dogs like go through and do it. I've only watched a few videos of different people doing it. So I wasn't exactly sure of like what the requirements are whenever it came to like trialing. But that's
Yeah.
really neat.
And then there's stuff that the like you as the handler also can and can't do.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
you
like
can't like help them at all, I'm sure.
right, like so my signal for her, like if she's jumping up on stuff for confidence is I'll like double tap it and I'll be like jump up, and I keep forgetting that I just the hey. Did someone call you again?
Yeah. Yeah, somebody called me again. um, okay. Yeah, I haven't thought about that because I definitely would be like one to be like up, up, up. To
Right.
get up on the hay bales or go through the tunnel or anything like that. Do you think that this has just gave her like a huge boost in confidence?
Yes, definitely. My husband said it after we were doing it really consistently for like 2 or 3 months before we went on vacation. And definitely, he's like, I can see it in the walks. Like she wasn't, because he'll walk her midday, and then when I get home from work, we'll do another walk. So he's like, she, would be giving him eye contact, more engaged, less reactions towards other dogs. The scooters are still, I could talk an hour about the scooters, so I'm not going to, but the scooters are still a big trigger for her, but she was getting more comfortable with them. And then we kind of reset when we went on vacation also.
Uh-huh. It's crazy how getting like some of those natural instincts out can just make such a huge difference on um their attitude whenever they're fulfilled. But I definitely see it. That's awesome. Well, that makes me so excited for you guys that you were able to continue with Barn Hunt, and I think that's a super interesting sport. I don't know if we'd ever be able to do it. Layla's not like really good at like finding stuff. She doesn't have any terrier in her. She's
Uh,
all bird.
I know, yeah, I like watching her play with the what is
The
it called?
ball, yeah. She is all of those herding breeds. Um, oh, hello. Thank you for commenting that. And sharing our ideas and how to cope. That is so sweet. I'm
Oh,
glad you enjoyed this and that you're not feeling as alone and that you're feeling encouraged. That's my hope for these lives, is that people are able to see that they're not alone and maybe get some inspiration and some hope for you and your dog, and that you'd be able to enjoy life together more. So, but that wraps up all of my questions. Do you have anything for me?
oh shoot. I know you
I
always ask.
kind of like a surprise question.
Let me see. I think, okay, so if you could take Layla anywhere, where would you take her?
Probably. Okay, so we're going to Colorado in September, and I think she will really thrive there.
Why?
So we are taking her there, so I'm not going to say there. But I think if I could take her to like Scotland or
Oh,
Ireland, somewhere that has like a little bit cooler climate and lots of fields, I think she would be very, very happy. So
fun.
I think if I could take her and fly her out over there, I would take her there.
That's funny. So we went to Ireland for our honeymoon
Uh-huh.
and went to the Cliffs of Moher, and so like if you see the pictures, it's literally just like a straight drop.
Yeah.
I remember there was a German Shepherd. I don't know whose dog it must have just been like the Cliffs dog, but the dog was literally running back and forth, completely unfazed by this huge drop, and I was like, oh my gosh, this dog is gonna fall, but living his best life in Ireland, so
That's awesome. I think
get
that
over
might
there.
be one of the places that we go for our honeymoon. We're talking about either, I don't know, we have all these crazy ideas, but we're like, okay, we could either go to Alaska, Hawaii, or like Amsterdam and Ireland.
Okay.
So I don't
So
know what we'll do,
yeah,
but
the Alaska and Hawaii, and then the other.
it would either be like
Oh,
Alaska or Hawaii, or do like Amsterdam and then like another country in Europe.
that'll be fun.
I
I mean,
know.
all the places sound like a lot of fun.
I know. But yeah, we're trying to make it a point to where it's like something that we fly so that we can't bring Layla. So that it's like, our honeymoon and not,
Just enjoy you too, right?
yeah, yeah. So, um, but yeah, that wraps it up. So I'm so glad that you were able to join me tonight, and I hope you have a beautiful Monday night
Thank
and a great rest of the week.
you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Okay, thanks to everyone that joined. I will have this up tomorrow and up on our YouTube and on podcast. So, all right, see ya. Bye. Yay! I seriously hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you are able to, you can come hang out with us on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is where I initially film these live podcasts. And if you didn't already, I would love for you to subscribe to our email blog. The link is found in the descriptions part of this podcast. And that is all for now. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful week.